Today's watercolour for you is using the pen and wash technique, but this time applying the colour washes over the top of that pen work. But a real brief on how I did the pen work in the first place, okay? So let's get them pens going and also those brushes wet. First thing you need to do is get that outline drawing onto the paper, okay? Just going to fold over one corner so I can grab it easier. And using graphite back paper, shine it side down, slide it between the two, like that. I've already done this by the way. Grab yourself a mechanical pencil or a sharp nib pencil, anything like that will do. And using a medium pressure, go around all of the lines that you can see on the outside edge and inside the Kingfisher. Pens. I'm going to go for the Sakura Pigment Micron, and that basically is this set here. You can see the sizes that you've got, so I'm going to go with a 01 first of all, that sort of nib size there. Now alongside this one, I'm also going to be using a Pilot's drawing pen. I do like this because you can get some very fine lines with it, you really can. And this is also a very fine tip, which is the 01 nib. Then using the edge of the pen, this is that Pilot pen, very carefully go around the edge of the Kingfisher, but also keep an eye, not that one, keep an eye on the direction these lines go in as well. It's not completely smooth, is it, all the way around? Sort of breaks up down there, the angles are changing again, so that way it's going towards probably about 11 o'clock. Then sort of 10 o'clock down here, then 9 o'clock and so on, as it works its way gently around that head. So start to map out the Kingfisher's head first of all. Start to add some basic details again to map it out, work out where things go, before you start to fill in the rest of the detail within the head. The other trick we're using these sorts of pens as well is that if you go too dark with it, then when you put the colour over the top, well, you can't really see the colour, it doesn't stand out enough. So what you need to consider when you're working with your pens is how much detail you put on there. Trying to get a happy balance between that really, and if you follow what I'm doing here today, they might give some ideas on how I tend to perceive it, you know, and the sort of detail I like to add, or lack of detail in some cases, when I'm working with a pen and wash. But I also want the detail inside to make a difference as well. Both the detail and the washes will sort of determine the shape of the bird. Again, remember what I said about not going too dark and completely filling the paper in with detail. Because you do want those colours to have a bit more of an impact, don't you? Think about the angle of the pen. Consider the thickness of the line that you're applying as well. If you want a really light, thin line, remember to angle that pen so it's nearly, not quite, but nearly horizontal. Just to ensure that you only get a small amount of ink off that pen, alright? No big bold lines, especially around the outside edge. Now let's add those colours, and I've got a variety of colours already mixed up here, so I'll go through some of these with you. But the majority of those colours are listed on my website, so have a look at that link down below, okay? Just dampen down the paper first of all, some clean water and a size, what we've got, size 4 brush. Dampen it down. Don't completely soak it though, whatever you do. You need to control that water. When you put your head to one side, you can see how wet it is as well. And for me, if I just tilt that paper towards you, you can just see how wet that is there. Grab some yellow. This is more of a yellowy orangey colour. Okay, it's got lemon yellow in that one. I'm going to add that one on first of all. Remember working with the lightest colours, so the brightest colours as well. Just drop it on the paper. Now, when you look at the photograph, you can see that the chest isn't bright orange. It's not really bright, you know. Sort of a browny orange, really. Sort of a dull orange. Sometimes they can appear quite vivid as well, can't they? Remember to leave that section there. The same along this area here. This acts like a base colour. That's all I want it to do. Then within that yellow, what I've done, I've added just a little bit more colour. Touch in there as well. And all that is, with this one here, I've added a little bit of Scarlet Lake in there with some burnt umber. I can drop this one onto the paper as well to change the colour, change it around. Not everywhere though. Notice how this is a little bit paler around there, isn't it? So make sure you leave that section in the middle. You can put a little mark here and there, but not much. And still start to bring that chest together now. You've got to think about the shape at the same time, haven't you? We've already done the detail work, so we don't need to think about detail at all with our watercolours. Just those colours. That's all we're looking for now. And this will get richer with every layer of paint we add on. I think I'm going to add just a touch more burnt umber into the mix. Just to darken it down here. Put another layer over the top. But not everywhere though. Just in places. Maintaining the wetness of the paper while you're doing this though. Don't let it dry on you too quick. Think about where you applied the paint first of all, because you know that area will dry the soonest. Here's a factoid for you. Did you know that the common kingfisher must eat over half its body weight each day in order to survive? Yeah, I know. Now if I did that, I'd be the size of a whale. I know. What we like about kingfishers here in the UK is that when we see them flying down the rivers, you hear a single high-pitched tone and then a blue flash go past. Because on the back of the kingfisher, there's a lovely, bright, long blue line there. And soften it down where it's starting to dry. If you find this a little bit too pale, you can go over the top of that again once it's completely bone dry. Right, time to paint Mrs. Kingfisher now. You will notice that this particular one has got a bit of orange underneath the beak there, hasn't it? Just underneath there. Whereas the male doesn't have any orange at all in the beaks. That's how we know the difference between the two. Think of it on the terms that ladies wear lipstick. They also have a third eyelid. Pardon? I know. A third eyelid that helps protect their eyes when they're in the water. So although their vision isn't really sharp underwater, they can still see quite well. That third eyelid helps protect their eye while they're in the water. But it's not just fish they eat, you know. They can also eat things like insects and crabs. But that can all be to do with the changing of water temperature and the time of the year as well. Now we've got a bit of blue in there, so what we can do is lift a small amount of paint off there. So if I get a clean brush and some kitchen roll, take most of that water off. What I can do, just lift off a little bit of paint. Just on this damp paper before I dry it, okay? Just take off some paint like that. Just in random places, just in this one area really. And then, as I mentioned, give it a dry. Now it's nice and dry, I'm going to re-wet this. And a little bit more colour in places, but not much. Go for that one. Yeah. Just a touch here and there, just to add a little bit more shape into the chest. Then once you've got the colour on, lightly blend it. Don't make it too even. They don't bite their prey, you know. Not really, they just swallow it whole. So when they've got a very large fish, it can take some getting down. I tried that once. It doesn't work. Nah. Damp clean brush. And then what I want to do, let's go on this one here, shall we? You can see some little tiny marks, can't you? Around the neckline. So I'm going to lift off a small amount of paint here and there. Small tiny marks by just removing a tiny amount of paint in places. This just adds to the overall detail really. Some pigments will lift easier than others because some are quite staining, aren't they? Blue. I'm going to go for the lightest colour first of all, and that's going to be a single colour of phthalo blue. Very, very watery. So I'll tell you that one today, I know. Straight onto the dry paper. I don't want it too intense. Not at this stage. This is going to be the undertone, It's going to be the first layer of paint on the paper, the underneath layer. So when we add that next layer over the top, which will be that deeper, kind of richer blue, a little bit of purple in there as well in places, by the way, then I want this colour to show through in places. In places. You see what I mean in a bit, okay? Do note with the beak, where you got the nostril, that's orange in there, isn't it? Like a deep orange. So you can use our normal orange colour for that if need be. They also prefer to nest in cliff faces as well, and can tunnel into that cliff face up to around 1 metre. So that's quite some depth for a little bird to make a nesting chamber. It's not a singing bird at all, because these kingfishers make more of a shrilling noise, like a very high-pitched noise, or repetitive whistle, that sort of thing. Give it a quick dry, and then we'll add those richer colours over the top. Okay, nice and dry. Let's add the richer colours on now. I've thickened down the phthalo blue. This is where we can start to add in. Now I know to say that we don't want to be painting details with this, but what we need to do is add this colour over the top first and lift some paint off. I know. Just like we did on the chest a little bit, okay? So, phthalo blue, first of all. And cover the entire head. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, just down to the white section down here. Be careful with this colour because it is a staining colour. And pull out a few little lines towards the back of the head as well. And also the top. And drop in a more purpley version. So phthalo blue with some purple. Just the lower section there. Small amount. Just to change the colour slightly. And flick out a few little feathers here and there as well. That's where you can have fun with this. Now that is on, what I want to do is start lifting some marks off as well. Okay, here we go. So small tiny marks here and there before it starts to dry with a damp, clean brush. And because the brush is damp, it will create blemishes or cauliflower marks. People call it different things, don't they? Within the paint. And by doing so, this will give you those patterns that you need along the top of the hair. Even small dabs of water will help as well. So making use of those cauliflower marks, making use of those blemishes that you can see on the paper, all by using a damp, clean brush. But you can see how effective doing something like this actually is. Be very careful not to take off too much, because if you do, you'll have to go over the top of that one more time. With a little bit more colour, of course, in places. Have fun with it. You can see how much I've taken off there, look. Keep switching between your colours, between your blue and also the purpley blue. And think about the depth of tone while you're doing this as well, because I can see here a little bit darker around there. So I'm going to go for my purpley blue, just underneath that section there. It's all about tweaking and fine-tuning as you do this. And playing with those paints. The key is to not get too bogged down with details. It really is. Oh, I'll tell you what we need to do as well. Add a little bit of greenier blue into this section here. I can see it's slightly more of a green tone down there. Not much, just a little bit. And once it's semi-dry, I'll start lifting off some paint in that area. Just going to dampen down the white area here, just a touch. Just a touch. Go over your purple and add a tiny amount just on the lower section, just around there. Look. Tiny amount, just add more of a shadow really more than anything. And then soften that back. Very lightly. That'll do. Yeah, that'll do. Now the beak. What I want to do, add a bit of our purpley colour, purpley blue, just into this section here. Notice it's lighter on the top and darker on the bottom. So do bear that in mind. And sort of comes down to a bit of a point around there. So you've got the nostril just above there. And comes to a point. So I'm going to soften that down now. I'm still using my size 4 brush. Then very lightly blend that. Remember, this top part is really pale, isn't it? That's where the light's hitting at the moment. Really, really pale. We do need some colour on there though. It's not white. Once this is dry, we'll add a bit of orange within that nostril as well, okay? Then the same underneath, but do note as well that we have got a lighter area just below the joint of the beak. Right, so where the two parts of the beak join together, it's slightly paler just there for the upper and lower mandible. And once it's dry enough, grab some orange. Got a bit just on camera here, look. Just add a touch of that within that nostril, not much, a small amount. Okay, now I need to do the same thing on the other bird as well. Now you may notice that the highlight within the eye is not really bright white, is it? It's more of a purple colour, so I'm going to try lightly dampen that a touch. Quite watered down though. Just drop that in, just to tone the eye back a touch. That's better. Maybe a little bit more on the left hand side. We'll do the same on the other one as well. As for the feet, I'm going to grab some orange. It's all dried up in there. Sort of an orangey red colour. I'm going to drop that in over the top of those toes. The first layer. I'm going to do this on both birds. Then I'm going to add a touch more alizarin crimson to that mix. And I use that just to add those sort of deeper tones in there as well. Okay, alizarin crimson. Drop that in one corner for now. Yeah, that'll do. That'll enrich it, won't it? Then use that for the slightly deeper areas. Mostly underneath the foot. Just by tapping like that. Just down to the toe. Same on the other side. Slightly higher. And on the left side. Think about where the light's hitting it as well. Okay, quick dry, and then we can paint that branch. Let's start off with a bit of purple. It's a very pale purple. I want to put this in between where we can see that lichen or lichen. How do you say it? Lichen or lichen? Leaving gaps in between as well. This is quite watery. Probably water it down a little bit more. Just add some colour to that branch. You can change it as much as you want. Or you can even use the colours we've already got within our mixing palette. Anything that you want for the branch, doesn't really matter. It's your branch at the end of the day. You can make the colours whatever colours you want to make them. It's entirely up to you, it really is. Just a hint of this purple just in different places across the branch. And then we can start adding another colour over the top of that. And we can then start thinking about mixing some lichen colours in between. Yeah, so I said lichen then, I know. Then switch those colours for any other colours that you want within your mixing palette. For me, I'm going to go for a small amount of my orange. Well, which one shall I go for? I go for this one here. And that can go down probably around this area here. Just to brighten just small areas of that branch. Change it around, change the flavour, change the way it looks. Don't make it too even. Okay, let's go for a small amount of pale blue. You can use this for those lighter patches of lichen that you can see within the branch here. Lots of places are simply covered with this lichen. So small amounts of pale blue here and there, leaving gaps again, don't completely fill it in. It's all about taking your time. Because I know this painting is nearly finished, but you certainly don't want to rush those final stages. And guess what I've forgotten? Have you noticed? I've forgotten the tail of this bird, so I'm going to fill that one in now. I can't believe I forgot that, you know. So you've got orange, and then you've got a little bit of blue on the outside edge. So next one is pale green. Remember that all of these colours are on my website. So a small amount of pale green here and there, dabbing it around, just to simulate that lichen that we can see within that branch. It doesn't have to be the same as a photograph, remember that. As long as it's similar, that's all that matters. Remember to leave plenty of gaps in between as well. Especially when you're working with a mid-tone colour, this sort of a deeper purple. Deep purple? Wasn't that a pop group once? Yeah. Think about where it's darker on that branch as well, especially the underside of it. So that will give you some ideas on how to work with a pen and wash technique to paint two kingfishers. Yeah, quite enjoyed doing that, you know. Really did. Have a look at the top right hand corner of the screen. Got another video there for you to watch on working with the pen and wash technique. I'll see you there, okay?